what would you want to share with our audience as to how to approach the question, what can I do?
All right. Well, that is a pretty big question because there's a lot of smaller problems and smaller issues and likely future events we can look to that have more specific preparations, I guess. But in general, I would say the way out of this, since we're looking at it, this effort towards globalism and global governance, ultimately what that is, if you boil it down to its parts, I guess, is an effort to create extreme centralization. So a response to that is to decentralize. Going back to what I said earlier about my own political views, I tend to think that localism is really the way out of this, to build local resilient communities that are able to produce a lot of things that they need themselves, not having to depend on either corporate or corporate entities or the state for those things, since those are increasingly united now through public-private partnerships and what have you. I tend to think that's the way to go. Also, in terms of what's going on economically, it's really hard to know the dates on this and how it's going to play out. What I think, this is just my personal opinion, is that if you have money saved up, I think it's a good idea to spend some of that on tangible things, material things you will need over the course of the next year, the next several months, because if something happens to your money, you try to prepare, it didn't work out, who knows what can happen going forward, you will be okay, right? And have things you will need in advance. That's how I personally am planning to prepare for that sort of stuff. There's a couple other things too. I think another big one is that a big effort has been made, especially in the last year, to have people increasingly isolated and increasingly dependent on screens for various things. And I think the more we can get in the real world and resist that, the better off we'll be building normal socialization again, but also just getting out in the real world. Everything they can do digitally, they can really surveil or attempt to, so it's best to just try and be back in the real world. They're trying to force us into some sort of technocratic panopticon, get technology in your body and on your body. The best way is to sort of unplug as often as you can, as often as you're able, I think is an effective way to resist. And then what I said earlier about fear, not being scared of these people, even though what they're planning is scary, is a very powerful act as well.